You're listening to the Health Powered Productivity Podcast by RaderCo. I'm Marcey Rader, founder and chief productivity lead. This podcast aims to give you and your team bite-sized, time-saving, focus-boosting, health-improving tips you can implement immediately. Now, on with the show. I'm often told that one of the reasons I'm trusted is because I walk my talk. It is not always easy, but I never recommend anything that I can't or won't do myself. So let's dive into the nitty-gritty of priorities. That magic word we toss around like confetti at a celebration. But we're about to declutter the priorities party. Your professional and personal life buzz around you like bees around a honeypot. But here's the thing. You can't be the queen bee for everything. Nope. Sorry, not even you. Not even me. So we're capping it at 3 priorities each. That's the sweet spot. Trust me. Our brain likes odd numbers. It likes 3, and it can be less than 3. It can even be just 1, and that's perfectly okay. But it can't be more than 3. As my friend Melina Palmer of the excellent Brainy Business podcast says, we use time discounting to believe that our future selves will be better and do better. Our future self will be able to accomplish 5 things or 10 things. We overestimate what we can do in a short period. Then, when we can't do it, we feel bad about ourselves. It's not that we were failures. We just weren't realistic in thinking through our priorities and how much our real selves will be able to complete. So thinking through your priorities for the year, imagine you're on a cosmic journey, gazing down at Earth from a spaceship. That's your annual view, broad and expansive. Then you switch to an airplane view, cruising through the clouds as you tackle your quarterly priorities. Then you zoom in a bit more and you're on a skyscraper checking out your monthly ambitions. And then you drop down to the treetop level for your weekly priorities. And finally, it's all about your daily hustle down in the weeds where the real action happens. And shameless plug, suppose you aren't sure how to map this out. In that case, we have next level training with prompts for reflection, planning, and prioritization in this particular format in our Powered Path playbook and course. And this is how I've been doing my priorities for the last 10 years. But that's not the main point here. When I'm in the coaching zone with my personal clients, we're not just talking about priorities. We're turning the spotlight on them, Hollywood style. So imagine a journalist shadowing you, crafting a day in the life of you story. Would they say you're rocking those priorities? Or would there be some awkward shuffling and throat clearing? Let's get real with an example. So we're going to check out this client, a true priorities juggler. Annual personal top 3, rein in that hemoglobin A1C level. And that is health lingo for a diabetes marker. When you go to get your blood sugar checked, hemoglobin A1C is the level that, of your blood sugar over time, not just in the moment. She also wanted to slash her screen time to embrace the real world and amp up spouse listening skills. She didn't feel she was a very good listener to her spouse. So hold on, we're not done. We're going to narrow that focus a bit just to priority 1. So her quarterly priority was to decode her blood sugar patterns. And she did this by asking her doctor for a prescription for a continuous glucose monitor. And if you have never used one of these, I think everyone should use one for 2 weeks. And it goes on your arm and it tracks your blood sugar 24 hours. And this way you can eat something and see if it spikes your blood sugar. Because for some people, rice does. For other people, it doesn't. For me, sweet potatoes of any kind just send it through the roof. But one of my other clients, sweet potatoes do nothing to him. Potatoes don't do anything to his blood sugar. So it's really helpful to know what spikes your blood sugar, but then you can also see how quickly it comes down. So just like with heart rate, fitness, one gauge of fitness is how fast you recover. Same thing with blood sugar. How fast your blood sugar stabilizes can also predict health. Okay, so then we go to monthly priority, and that focus was conquering the pill-taking routine. She often forgot to take her pill. She was taking it maybe 4 or 5 times a week. So she really wanted to focus on that first. And that was part of the decoding blood sugar patterns and also seeing like the pattern of, if she didn't take her pill, then what would happen? And then weekly, she was going to, for this week, walk for 10 minutes after eating any sugar spiking foods based on her CGM data. And this is also fascinating because there are foods that may spike your blood sugar. But if you move for just 10 minutes, it does not even have to be long. You do not even have to get sweaty. You can just go outside for a walk. It may not raise it, or it may not raise it as much, or it may come down faster. So it seems like she's playing the priorities game, right? But there's a plot twist. Our journalist friend noticed some hiccups. She's scanning her CGM app when the day's almost done. Oops. That does not help her to know when she needed to move after eating the cheese quesadilla for lunch or the Kind bar for her 3 p.m. snack. And then if we just look at her other priorities, and that journalist is following her around, she's double screening during Netflix. So she has a show on and she's on her phone. And she's text checking during times of the day when her partner is telling her stories. So that's not aligning with her other 2 priorities. So let's shift gears to the professional realm. Priority 1 was to grab that advanced certification. 2, solve 3 bottleneck and process problems in the department. She knows this will help her get a promotion. And 3, level up her speaking game. Not a professional speaker, but she presents to leadership. So quarterly, she broke that down. She's going to clock in 2 hours a week for her certification. She is going to outsmart the delivery snags and the refrigerated shipments. She's going to focus just on that for that quarter. And she's going to focus on virtual speaking skills only. So we broke it down by the month. Same old 2 hours a week for certification. She's going to untangle the supply chain knots. There's some specific things she can do this month for the supply chain. And then she is going to schedule her 2 coaching sessions with our fabulous vocal communications coach, Helen Moses. And then weekly, she is going to schedule the 2-hour certification training on her calendar. She's going to re-strategize some parts of the supply chain she has a big whiteboard, and she's going to think through like the whole process, put some stickies up, and then she is going to crush her first coaching session. Hold the phone. Our journalist, ever the observant sleuth, catches a curveball. She's trading in certification time like a swap meet, barely squeezing in study sessions. She let people schedule over her certification time so that she only had about 45 minutes to study on a Thursday late afternoon when she was tired. She's also playing firefighter to someone else's emergencies, and she showed up late to her coaching session because of someone else's fire that she felt compelled to put out. So when we reflected on the week, she could have pushed back on 2 meetings since they were last minute, but she admitted she had fear of missing out and a little bit of guilt. And when we discussed if the certification would help her at work, she said, it's actually a requirement for my promotion. If that is not a priority, I don't know what else is. As for the coaching session, she wasted part of the company's money on that investment by attending it late. And if she hadn't checked her email one last time, she wouldn't have seen the email asking for a document at the last minute. And by giving it to them, she has now trained her team that she will come in and save the day when it was their procrastination that made it an emergency in the first place. And guess what? It actually wasn't even an emergency. The person wasn't even using it until the next day. So here's the grand takeaway. What do you say you prioritize? It's time to put it under the microscope. And when this question was first posed to me, if a journalist were following you around all day, would they say you were living your priorities? It was a gut punch. It was like, wow, because I am not giving, if I say my husband is the most important person in my life, but I am sideways checking a message when he's talking to me, or I'm not turning away from my computer and giving him a hug when he comes in the morning, instead I'm doing like a side hug, good morning, let me get on with my work, then that journalist is going to say, yeah, she's not prioritizing him. If you say health is your priority, are you taking a lunchtime stroll? Are you powering down after dinner? If it's family, are you present and not just physically there? If it's, not checking email as much, have you turned off your badges and notifications? So imagine that journalist peeking into your day, and what's their headline about your top 3 priorities? Is it a rave review or a plot twist you never saw coming? The power to rewrite that story is in your hands. And if you're interested in the Powered Path Playbook and method, go to helloraderco.com/podcast and use the code PODCASTFRIEND for 10% off until May 31st. Thank you for listening to the RaderCo Health Powered Productivity Podcast. The resources mentioned are linked in the show notes. If you found this podcast valuable, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone you know who could benefit. For more bite-sized tips, our top recommendations, and to learn more about working with myself and the RaderCo team, from consulting and coaching to speaking and more, visit helloraderco.com.